Hello, welcome. My name is Jo, and today we are talking about my language learning challenges and goals, whatever you want to call them, for 2023. So, we just started December, but honestly, I'm ready. I can't say I'm ready for it to be 2023 because that sounds really scary, but I am excited about a new year. So, we are going to talk about challenges that I would like to complete for Spanish and French. We will start with Spanish. First of all, I would like to finish my Reading Around the Spanish World challenge if I can. So I want to read books in both Spanish and English for every country that is Spanish speaking in the world. So that should be about 22, I believe. I think I've completed 3 or 4 countries at this point. So there is still a lot to finish, but I only started it a couple months ago. So I think within a full year, I should have time, hopefully, to finish it. I would kind of like to listen to all of the Game of Thrones books translated into Spanish. This one is a little bit weird because I'm not really that into the Game of Thrones. I've watched a couple of the seasons and I've read 3.5, I think, of the books. I think I had bailed somewhere in the middle of the 4th book in English. But for some reason, the thought of tackling a huge series like that is just so satisfying, and knowing that it is something that I have at least read most of before is, good because it's much easier for me to listen to audiobooks that I have read before in English. Just the idea of listening to 5, 30 to 40 hour audiobooks just sounds like such a monumental task and something that will be incredibly satisfying to complete. So, I'm thinking about it. I think I kind of want to do it. Similarly, I would like to work on, or maybe complete if I have time, this classic books bingo that is on Instagram. This is just a random thing that I saw someone share on Instagram, and it was like popular classics to read on Bookstagram, and you're just supposed to fill in the ones you've read. But I was like, that would be very cool to try to listen to all of these, or read them, but probably listen to them more realistically. So I think, again, I've read maybe 3 or 4. I'll mark the ones that I have read. I think it would be cool to work on that, at least, if I don't complete it. This is not really a goal so much as it is something that I want to track that will kind of naturally follow the other goals that I have. I want to track how many pages I am reading physically, it could be ebooks, but how many pages I'm reading with my eyes, not with my ears. I believe that I have read somewhere around 3,000 so far, and it would be really cool if I could get to 10,000 next year, but again, it's more just something that I want to track. Speaking of tracking, I do kind of want to read 50 books in Spanish. I think I will have read close to somewhere around 30 this year, and this is really the first year that I was reading books in Spanish. I read 3 chapter books in November and December of 2021, but those were the first chapter books that I had read in Spanish. So this was really the first full year of Spanish reading, and so I think if I could read 30 books this year, and that includes audiobooks and physical books, it seems like 50 books should be doable next year, hopefully. And I would like to do 700 hours in Spanish. I don't know if this will happen or not, but that is just under 2 hours a day average. And, I would love to get to 2 hours a day, but over the past couple months, I've kind of had the loose goal of getting to 2 hours a day, and it has been really hard for me to do that. The average that I've been landing on is just under 2 hours. That seems to be kind of the sustainable level for me right now. So we'll see. Maybe that will increase a lot in the next year, and that would be great if it does. But in case it doesn't, I think I'd like to set the goal of 700 hours. And that would put me over 1,000 hours total in Spanish since I started tracking. I didn't track all the way from the beginning of learning Spanish, but I did start tracking in November of 2021, I believe. So I've done about 450 or something hours so far. So, I would be at almost double the amount of hours that I had this year. So I think that that would be really good. I would also like to complete some kind of top however many Spanish language films of all time or something like that. I wrote down one list which was from tasteofcinema.com, and that was the top 30, but there's also a shorter list on like the Oprah website or something like that, and then there's a lot of long lists like top 100 or something like that. So I'm not super like strict about this. For one thing, I don't know how accessible these films will be, if they're not on any of my streaming platforms or free online somewhere. I'm not gonna like pay for them, so I will feel free to make substitutions. I'll probably look up several of these lists, and if they're not available on one of them, I'll just pick a different film from a different list and substitute it in. Or if there's films that I absolutely am not interested in the subject matter whatsoever, I'm not going to force myself to watch them. But I would really like to go through some kind of list like this, because other than like Netflix, modern things, I haven't consumed a lot of Spanish film or anything like that. I really haven't watched any classic Spanish movies. Yeah, I would just like to have a little bit more kind of literacy, a cultural media literacy that I absolutely do not have now. So transitioning between Spanish and French, I have the same goal in both, to just read through these grammar reviews that I have. So I have the Old Teach Yourself Spanish Grammar and French Grammar. I really like these books. I don't think they make exactly these anymore, and I have just found them to be really great references. And although I don't study grammar, I am trying to learn through immersion, through comprehensible input, whatever you want to call it. I think that especially as I get more and more advanced, it is really helpful to be able to notice the patterns and the grammatical structures, kind of like how in your native language, you first just learn how to speak it, and then at school you learn why you are speaking it the way that you're speaking it. I'm certainly not that advanced in Spanish yet, but I do think that it would be helpful to kind of just see the logic behind a lot of the things that I'm seeing through reading and everything, and hopefully that will help me understand it a little bit better. So I definitely want to start with Spanish grammar because I am far more advanced in my Spanish than in my French, but then, maybe later in the year or when I'm done with the Spanish one, I do want to do the same with French. And this will also be helpful because I have never studied French. I did take one semester of Spanish, and, that obviously was not a significant amount of Spanish, but I did at least learn, like, the present tense conjugations and the kind of basic stuff that I have not ever learned in French. So I think that this would be a really good thing to read through. Again, I'm just reading these. I am not planning to do the exercises in them or anything, but yeah. For French, I am, as I said, a complete beginner in French. I have started reading things and, doing a little bit of comprehensible input, but I really am a total beginner. So the first thing is that I would like to go through all of the stories on thefrenchexperiment.com. I have done one or two of them, and that was something that I used in Spanish. The SpanishExperiment.com, I went through those stories, and I did them as like a dictation exercise when I needed more fine-tuning of my listening skills. And so that might be something that I try in French as well. But certainly, even if I don't do that, I want to go through all of them until I am quite familiar with a lot of the vocabulary in them. And yeah, I would like to read 12 books in French. Hopefully I can read more than 12 books, but I would like to read 12. I would like to reach 250 hours in French next year. That is about 40 minutes a day. and I don't know if that is going to happen. Something that I have heard before, I think from Lindy Botus maybe, is the idea of having an anchor in your routine, like some part of your language routine that is automatic, that is just like always there. And for me, for Spanish, that is listening to audiobooks while I am driving. Like that is just, it's always there. I don't even have to think about it or try to get that kind of baseline amount of input because I just always do it. I don't have anything like that in French right now, and so I need to figure out a place in my life that I can fit in something like that. So that will be the number one thing for this year. But yeah, hopefully I can figure out a way to integrate it a little bit more and get that like 40 minutes a day. So we shall see. Similarly to Spanish, I would like to get a top whatever films list and work my way through it, probably slightly less than in Spanish because I really don't watch that many movies. So if I'm trying to watch like 30 movies in Spanish and 20 movies in French, that's going to be a movie every single week, and I just don't watch that many movies. But maybe like 20 and 10 or something like that. We shall see. I would like to watch some French films. I know that, French cinema is pretty famous, so hopefully I will find things to love there. So those are my plans for challenges for next year. I feel like I have gotten a pretty good handle on what I like to do in my target languages, and hopefully these will be well suited towards things that I actually want to do and that don't feel like a chore for me to do. So I know that there are so many other great ideas for challenges. So if you have anything that you are excited about doing next year, definitely leave it in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.